glorious Gippsland, a beautiful part of the world, 2 hours to the east of Melbourne, and that's where we find ourselves today. Something for everyone, from the fringes of the National Alpine Park all the way down to the windswept beaches of this region and to the peninsulas of Wilson's Promontory. It's a beautiful part of the world and it's a beautiful place to go rallying. And we are at Thomson 4, 14.34 kilometres. This is the middle of everywhere, Gippsland Rally. This is the 4th round of the E-Road Australian Rally Championship. I'm Chris Stubbs. Great to be with you and great to have Dean Herridge alongside me once again. Dean, it's a big day ahead, isn't it? And we have seen some terrific action already.
Yeah, we have. A bit of consolidation mode, as you'd expect in an endurance round, but still plenty to talk about and still plenty of kilometres before the end of this rally wraps up.
That's exactly it. Let's have a look at the event schedule. 216 kilometres all up of competitive stages, 91 kilometres of those today. We've got this stage and 2 more left in the rally here. And so far today, it's been 3 stage victories for Hayden Paddon, our championship leader, and 2 for Harry Bates, who's sitting in 3rd in the title overall. So still much to play for. In terms of this stage itself, Dean, it's the 4th run at it. We're about 1.5 kilometres into it. And this time, they're just going faster and faster because the muscle memory is there, right?
It sure is. And you're seeing some dynamite stage times. The road's gripped up. But get off line, we saw that a couple of times. Very interesting to watch. Can't wait for the 4th pass.
So Hayden Paddon comes to us now. He'll be our first runner. He has a lead of around 1 minute and 7 over Harry Bates. Let's hear from him with Taylor Marlene at the Galvanised Insurance Rally Central.
Hayden Paddon, you had a really strong start yesterday and moving throughout the day into the night time. How are you approaching today?
A little bit steady as she goes today. Just need to look after that lead, obviously, and obviously not let off too much and not lose the rhythm, but just keep enough pressure on. And if the Bates boys get a few stage wins, that's not going to worry us today. Just get through and then obviously have a push on the power stage.
Nice and consistent, and the power stage is a brand new stage as well, so that must be exciting, kind of getting some fast pace in there.
Yeah, well, obviously we get 2 goes at it, so the first one will be a bit of a dress rehearsal, sort of check out the pace notes, and then it's a really fast flowing stage, downhill, rewards commitment, so it'll be, I think, a very closely fought power stage.
Sounds like a confident run. Thanks, Hayden.
So showing his years of experience, dialling it back, and it's the smart and obvious approach, isn't it?
It's the obvious approach, but it's a lot harder than you think to do that. That's where the experience comes in, because when you're sort of first in those situations, it's not natural not to be attacking. So in actual fact, you find yourself, as he said, I've got to keep the rhythm up. You can't lapse too long. And they're all aiming towards, for him, now the power stage. I've got to bank the weekend first and foremost, but then I've got to think about the power stage points, which is sort of the language we heard in the service part. They're all sort of thinking about, okay, if we're set here and, I can't really make an impact on the overall result, how can I get some points back or make a big push on that easy up power stage?
So bigger picture, at the start of today, there was 1 minute and 7
I know.
between Hayden and Harry. Right now, there's 1 minute and 7. So they're going toe for toe today. But Hayden, in terms of his championship lead, it's 35 points with 2 rounds remaining at the Adelaide Hills and in Tasmania as well. So it is a pretty comfortable position, but anything can happen.
Oh, absolutely. But I think that's the thing. This is only 1 round that we've got going on here. We've got South Australia, hasn't been there before. Lewis has been particularly strong in South Australia, won it the last 3 times.
And he's second in that title fight.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, all these guys know that it's not over till it's over. This is just 1 round in the championship. Yes, we look like we're sort of setting our positions at the moment, but I've seen some crazy stuff go on final sort of loops on the Australian Rally Championship. So, anything could still happen, but it looked like it's set. And these sorts of conditions sort of lend themselves to a bit of consistency for most people.
Well, one thing that's remained consistent is the mosquitoes are here joining us once again. If you were with us earlier today on Speed Cafe and on our socials on YouTube and Facebook for the E-Road Australian Rally Championship, you would have noticed that.
We clearly didn't go and get anything to help us out, did we? We just persevere through it.
But for the 4th time through, how much do you think the conditions will have changed for Hayden here this time round?
Oh, the thing is, it's a swept road. His first car, obviously, today, but that's not going to impact him as he comes into shot with us. Let's have I want to have a watch and a listen through here. Let's listen to a full attacking Hayden Paddon through this stage. Just to go down a rail cycle. This one's so impressive. That's a flat-out run through the kink and then he just sort of balances under brakes. We're in a really good spot on that braking gear. Back now down through the loop. Just the balance of control there when you're in form and on one with the car is very cool to watch.
Super impressive stuff there from Hayden Paddon, our championship leader. Harry Bates is in 2nd place so far for this rally, and let's hear from him.
Harry Bates, yesterday you mentioned that you struggled a little bit getting your rhythm. How are you coming into today?
Yeah, looking forward to having daylight again, and we've got a couple of repeat stages today, so we can just keep working on, getting into that rhythm and getting the feeling that I was lacking yesterday. It wasn't a total disaster, but just didn't have the pace that I was after. So, looking forward to today, looking forward to getting going.
And we've got a really fast power stage coming up today as well, which will be really exciting. Are you going to go really aggressive for that one, or kind of pace yourself throughout the day and just kind of strategize?
Power stage is very fast at this rally. So fast that they've got to put in a restricted time zone to keep speeds down. But looking forward to it. It's going to be ultra competitive and I think quite close for the power stage win. And we all want the points. So, we'll be going for it.
Love a bit of a challenge. Thank you so much, Harry.
So he's out and about, ready to go. Our second runner for today. It is our defending champion. It is Harry Bates. Let's take a look at his run-up as he heads through. That was an impressive first run from Hayden. Let's see what differences we...
He's hugged right up on there, that little post there, and it's lipped up, didn't touch that time. So there's a slightly different line for him, but still the same amount of commitment. I've struggled to pick the difference between him and Hayden through here, to be fair.
He was so close on the inside there to some of the signage too. He almost took out one of the sponsors, so certainly on the attack. Likewise will be his brother Lewis Bates, and Taylor Marlene caught up with him as well.
Lewis Bates, the battle with your brother's getting close. How does it feel out there? And are you going to do max attack for the power stage?
We had a good morning. Harry and Coral were a bit faster than us on each stage this morning, so they extended their gap over us. But no, we're happy enough. We had a good feeling with the car and had a good warm-up on the power stage on the first pass. So it'll be maximum attack this afternoon. It's quite a thrill, that stage.
We look forward to seeing the adrenaline and thrill continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Lewis has certainly been consistent today, third in all of the stages that we've had, and he has bled a little bit of time though today, an extra 10 seconds to his brother.
Yeah, and that's really close, to be honest, but you and I spoke earlier on to go how those first couple of stages play out will dictate probably where they'll try and sit. I mean, he's probably just a bit too far back unless Harry has a spin or a mistake or has a problem. He's unlikely to penetrate. That really all had to happen this morning. So we've been in service. The Toyota team seem much more comfortable with the car. So I don't think Hayden's backed off to the full extent of the half a second a kilometre he sort of had on them yesterday or thereabouts, maybe up to a second. But, I think, Hayden's playing it safe a little bit, but the Bateses have found a little bit of rhythm and they seem a little more comfortable with that, which will suit Lewis. He's a confident sort of driver, I feel like, and that could help him in that easy up power station, nib a few more points. Stay without at the moment. Looks like championship, he would still stay second going into the penultimate round as well. So we'll have a look at see what lines we have through here, through the fast section, under brakes into the right-hander past us. So Lewis Bates in full form. Didn't quite get that right, I don't reckon. He just had to lift. He wasn't happy where it was positioned. Sort of just had to get out of the throttle slightly and had a really straight run at this right-hander just past us, not sort of able to dive it in. So you sort of saw him seesaw at the wheel a little bit. So just caught him, Bob, didn't quite get the car where he wanted it to. So not quite the ideal line. We're talking tenths of a second, but that all adds up.
So at the moment, we've got this battle, don't we, between the Toyotas, and then also you've got Paddon and Alex Rullo, who are the teammates too. So the top four, there's so little between them, but Alex will be out next. Let's hear from him.
Alex Rullo, we're now on day 2. How does it feel? We're halfway through.
Yeah, good. Made some more changes to the car today, so it's feeling a little bit better. Now we're making some more changes, and we're doing the same stage 4 times, the 2 up the hill, so actually gives us really good data in the middle of a rally on the same stage, so that'll be good to look at afterwards.
Yeah, plenty of practice out there on those stages, which is handy. How about the conditions? Does it feel different to what it was yesterday?
Yeah, a little bit drier than yesterday. Some of those wet patches have dried up. We can obviously see now it's not dark as well. So it's interesting doing the same stages. I think just then we did almost the exact same time as our second pass last year. So fair bit of grip in the road, and that new stage is pretty nice too.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing you out there. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
So lots of changes for Alex and a little bit dry, the conditions now. Would that be the reason for some of those changes, or what kind of things do you think he will be changing?
They're testing a little bit. I said before, they're in no man's land. It's the perfect time. You cannot replicate testing, in my opinion, and it's really hard to do what's like in a rally. So to go out and repeat the stages, this lends itself to repeat the stages. I get direct comparison. The conditions aren't changing. The road's swept. It might be a spring change. It could be a dampener change. It could be a sway bar change. But he gets to test it and get the data. So this is don't lose some speed, but gather some data. Still in full noise. A little wider on the entry there, just a little bit out in the loose. Set him up quite nicely for the right-hander, but you can see sort of attacking. That, to me, looks a little more confident and aggressive than the first one this morning. I sort of said to him he was the first of the runners just to start to have a little lift and not quite sure on the throttle. That seemed to be much more committed. I wouldn't be surprised if we go back at the end of the rally and say, how was that, Luke? Best the car's been all weekend.
There you go, certainly much wider here behind us. There's no doubt about that. And you can see the dust surrounding us as a result of that. Bodie Reading is having an awesome rally so far. He's leading the Wolf Production Cup, and Taylor caught up with him.
Bodie Reading, you've had a really good run this weekend. Do you have plans to attend Adelaide?
Yeah, for sure. We hopefully be doing the rest of the rounds to see out the year. So, yeah, we'll be there as long as we can get through this one.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, hopefully we also see you carrying on to next year. Is that a plan as well?
We'll just have to wait and see at this stage. We're just taking it year by year. Like, we first competed in the RC in 23, and we just said we'll take it 1 year at a time. We're here 2 years later, still going, so we'll see how it goes.
The thrill continues. How about the rest of the day heading into the power stage? You had a bit of a test run there. You feeling confident now?
Yes and no. It was a little bit skatey, slippery compared to the other ones that we've already run because it was the first time we've gone over it. And our notes were probably a little bit too ambitious, unfortunately, so we lost a little bit of confidence early on with a couple of little moments. But, yeah, we'll just tame it back. We don't want to throw the whole weekend away on the last stage, so we'll just look to get through that one and bring home a good result.
Better strategy there. Awesome. Well, I hope it goes well for you. Thanks, Bodie.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bodie's certainly doing a great job.
He looked pretty happy there and smiley, didn't he? Once again, I want to get full Wolf Production Cup points. Clayton Hoy being out of the way just sort of took the pressure off a little bit from that side of things. He'd be looking over his shoulder at Danny Traverso's times, but he's got a nice gap there. Got Troy Dow breathing overall from an outright perspective, but I don't think he'd be trying to hold him off like for like. So good, solid run. He'll like these conditions. Tyres wearing a little bit. Of course, the privateer's trying to save a little budget. Good manoeuvring down there. The car sounds strong through there. Like you can see one brake application, turn it in. I keep saying all this weekend, sort of a more mechanical grip type of car. These are the conditions that you can get your teeth into and don't necessarily lose a lot of time compared to some of the sort of newer model cars.
Danny Traverso, you mentioned him just a few moments ago, right in contention in terms of the Production Cup and really keeping hot on the heels of Bodie, and Taylor caught up with him.
Danny Traverso, you've had a really good run this weekend. Is there any interest there to come back for Tassie?
I'm not sure about Tassie. We're currently dialed in for South SA. We did that last year. Magnificent event, great roads, great atmosphere. I love that, so I'll be there. Not sure about Tas at this stage. That could be a stretch.
How about next year? Can we see you again at the Australian Rally Championships?
Most definitely. I'll definitely be at the signature events that I love, like Victoria being my home event is awesome logistically. And obviously when you're flying everyone around the country to get to other events, it makes it a bit more complicated. But definitely Victoria, SA, I dare say, at least minimum 3.
Definitely helps being a local, and then a lot of excitement with the night rallies and everything. And how about heading into Power Stage? Are we looking forward to it?
I just look at the stages as notes and corners, and whether it's a power stage or a short stage, I try and focus. That's hard for me because I've got a bit of a goldfish brain. But it's more of just getting out there, listening to the notes, listening to what Anthony's got to say, and just keeping it smooth.
Well, you're performing great, so thank you very much for that. See you around.
Hope you can keep it up. Cheers.
And top of the timesheets for some of the Wolf Production Cup stages today, and you caught up with him as well at Service Park.
I had a big chat to him. Well, the same thing, to sort of say, how you going in there? You know, the team were very happy to hear that you wanted to consolidate and just bring it home in one piece. That becomes part of the co-driver's role. Anthony Carr, who co-driving for him this round out, he'll be sort of, that'll be part of his role. Just in case they get a little bit loose in a couple of corners, like we said, you get wide here, you're going to try and be picked up on that quite quickly in that regard. So, not sure that's him, though. Looks like Tony Sullins is coming towards us. I think we've been tricked by him before, haven't we? I thought it looks white. Yes, it is. The front-wheel drive machine of Tony Sullins. A little more circumspect than this morning going through there, of course. Oh, that doesn't sound great. That's missing a little bit to me. I'm not a Citroen expert. 1.6 litre turbocharged car missing. He'll be disappointed because he was quick through the first run of the power stage and actually beat the Production Cup runners.
We might actually hear from Tony in just a few moments' time from earlier today, because he's done a great job, really, hasn't he, in terms of the car that he's got a two-wheel drive compared to the others.
Absolutely, yeah, and these roads do lend themselves from that point of view in regards to being a nice surface that you can get some grip on. You don't get penalised in the fast stuff as much.
All right, let's get his thoughts.
Tony Sullins, you've just had a pretty big accomplishment. You've taken over the Production Cup. How does it feel?
Yeah, that last stage was really good for us. It suits the car a lot more than the tight, twisty stuff. It's flowing and fast, and I pushed pretty hard because being a first pass, you've got to sort of get it right the first time because you can't be caught napping.
Awesome. Do you think we're going to take that energy into the power stage as well?
Yeah, definitely. The power stage is one we can go well in.
Awesome aggression it is. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you very much.
So at the moment, we're just expecting, we think, Danny
Running sheet's not quite right.
The starting
I'm sure we got it right this morning on that one.
The starting order is turned on its head just a little bit at the moment, as is the nature sometimes of rallying. But at the moment, the sun is out and it continues to dry. And what's your read on the conditions and on what Tony just went through?
Well, I'm going to say we've even had Fro, who's out there doing some of our camera work, said it sounds horrible, and I think he'll struggle. Unless it's something simple that he can fix at the end of the stage, but he'll hemorrhage a little bit of time. Overall, that won't affect him too much. So let's sort of see whether he can get through to the end of the stage and consolidate what looks like could be a podium in the Wolf Production Cup, let alone even being on the front of the top step of two-wheel drive. So, righto, this is Stewie Reid coming towards us now in the Mitsubishi AP4 car. Just sounds so strong under brakes, like it runs throttle through on it compared to some of the others. No real it sounds like it revs high, etc. Sort of suits Stewie's style fully, but flamboyant. It sounds like it's crisp and clean and having a good run. I said this morning that he's sort of been hampered by a few little dramas throughout the weekend, or through the rounds, previous rounds. Pretty solid afternoon and day and rally for him.
That's it, and a solid last night. Of course, for those who are only joining us today on the coverage, you've missed something special last night. For the first time in almost a decade, we had night stages back as part of the E-Road Australian Rally Championship. What was the vibe and the feedback from the drivers to you about that experience and the spectators?
I think it was varied. I think they liked the challenge of it, but depending on your experience level, like I said, I think Troy Dowell didn't love it. He sort of struggled a little bit. And I was surprised to know that someone like Harry, even with all his experience, only done 3 night rallies in his life. I guess someone like Stewie Reid and those sorts of guys have sort of grown up around some of that, so they sort of tend to not be too worried about the night time. So a bit of a gap discrepancy in that regard, but lights ablaze. I think you learn something from that. I think even Harry said my lights weren't quite set up right. I watched a little bit of onboard with him last night before we did our sort of tech piece during one of the day stages. So look, a nice element to it. We had a great crowd where we were, so great for the spectators to see the cars in action at night. It was cool. The cars sound great. Stewie Reid gave us a good scare because he had a big crank sideways. I thought he was going to bail out of it. He didn't. Spun it on the handbrake. Didn't lose too much time, and good car control there from him.
And you can jump onto the socials here for the E-Roads Australian Rally Championship and have a look at the piece that you did with Harry. Looking forward to that. It was an onboard where Harry talks us through a section of last night and yesterday's stage that was quite edgy, wasn't it?
Well, and for someone like yourself who hasn't probably watched fully all the onboard, I think even you look at, wow, that's a real great insight to see sort of 3 or 4 Ks in one section and get a description from Harry. Yeah, correct. It's okay. We've got Troy Dowell coming towards us now in the Toyota and gaining more and more confidence and making a bit of a run at Bodie Reading for 5th outright by the end of the weekend. And to be honest, if you'd offered him a 5th, I think he would have taken that at the beginning. So, maybe those nighttime stages, not being fully confident in the dramas with the puncher and the starter motor yesterday, hampering him. Coming back through the field now, and if he can get 5th, that'll be mission accomplished, I would have thought.
And with his co-driver too, it's a nice combination, isn't it?
Absolutely. Bernie Webb back on board, very experienced. Bernie and Steve Glennie involved in smooth line notes, and so they help a lot of particularly up-and-coming teams who are learning to write pace notes and sort of use their system and things. So, very experienced. And someone like Bernie is just would be a plug-and-play co-driver, for want of a better term. But they've got a lot of history together, and that would be gelling, no doubt.
And their contribution as a family to the sport and to sponsoring our power stage
today. Yeah, of course.
Today.
With Easy Up on the side of the car there. I think you're going to have Justin out there giving some medallions out. He's a former Australian rally champion himself. think he was being giving Troy a bit of a hard time about the nighttime stage. You know, the old guys know how to drive through the night, and like West Australia,
we had
where
to
I'm
hold
from,
a torch in front of us.
yeah. Well, like we talked about with, we'll do a little piece about the lights and stuff. The technology's changed over the time, like amazing bits of kit, and we talked about that a bit last night as well as we watched them through there. But it's sort of, I guess, we did do a lot of driving back in the day in the night. Like you'd run all the way through the night. We hear from sort of some of our legends of the sport where they would run till all hours of the morning and bits and pieces. So maybe we're toughening up some of the ARC competitors by putting some night stages in. It was well received by everybody, though.
I am looking forward to watching that power stage. The onboards from there, you'll be able to see some of them across the competitors' social medias and our own over the coming weeks. Because as it was being described by Justin, it's the most Finnish style of stage that we would have in Australia.
Yeah, this is the power stage, And everyone, roller coaster, fast, a little wide, and a bit different character even what we're seeing over our shoulder. So Harry did a good job there in the first pass. It's be interesting to see what he does. Can he consolidate? We'll talk a bit more about that once we see Danny Traverse coming towards us now with a popping and banging Mitsubishi Lancer. Oh, he's wide out there than we've seen most people. Gathers it up onto the hard stuff, into the right-hander, which is long and looping, sort of tightens and then opens back up towards our shot here. The Super Cheap Auto sign, and then, of course, we go to our drone shot to see the long left-hander. Great shots. We saw some fantastic, going back to the night again, the drone shots last night looked epic, with the cars going through the forest with the spotties on, etc. So going back to quickly the power stage side of things, for Harry, if he can do that, it can be, let's say they both, he and Hayden, went for the top spot. There's 10 points up for grabs for first, 6 for second. That's if you can get first and second. If you get the win over the second, it's like you got to think of an 8-point turnaround in your overall results, and that can be massive at the end of the year. So, and there's a bit of pride in that. If you can finish off and stamp a bit of a power stage win, that's a little bit of sugar for Harry after what's been a little bit of a frustrating and difficult weekend.
Yeah, plenty of sugar for Jackson Long throughout this season. He's been doing an outstanding job. He's coming up. Let's hear from him.
Jackson Long, we're currently at the Galvanised Insurance Rally Central and we're halfway through the day. How's it feeling out there? You just said the grip's a bit interesting.
Yeah, it's all over the place in some stages, especially Deep Creek. But no, we're having a lot of fun. That first stage is really great. And the new one at the end, it's the power stage, is an absolute roller coaster. So it was lots of fun, pretty scary, but really had to concentrate on that one. But yeah, enjoyed it.
Hopefully those nerves and scare tactics kind of work as confidence later on in the night. Do you think you're going to push and be really aggressive?
I think we'll just consolidate at this point. We've got like a minute behind us and a few minutes, either side. So we'll just keep it nice and tidy and get to the end.
Yep. Have some fun out there. Awesome. Thanks, Jackson.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We've said it every time I think we talk about Jackson, his approach, his maturity, but he's across everything, isn't he? We know that I've seen him chatting with Scotty Petter, pricking his brain for some ideas across the way, and Scotty spoke about that on his podcast with Greg Rust about, come to me, you young guys.
Yeah.
Like, pick my brain, I'm here to help.
Definitely.
I want to see the rising tide floats all boats. But he's been watching the stages too and watching some onboards.
Between the stages, even watches our live feed, I think, when they get a chance in there. So let's have a look. We talked, a lot of you commented on his commitment through here. He knows it's flat, he leans on it hard, he ends up out in the loose again, but sort of ran with it sideways, a bit Tom Christensen style from Forest Rally, who sort of had that art of sort of sliding in on the entry. You can see he has to really rev it with no turbocharger. The turbo cars can use the torque and the power of the turbo. He has to rev this thing out a little bit, naturally aspirated, so full commitment and loving it. And I sort of said to his dad, I said, fast in there? He said, yeah, we're fully committed, which is very cool.
And I think he learnt too, didn't he, across the weekend, that he could go flat through there. I think at first there was maybe a little...
I think if we're here on the first pass when it was loose, definitely wasn't, probably for most people. Second one, and then I think you said, Tom Clark came and had chats and said, young fella's flat through that one there.
Flat through there, and he certainly did that.
Maybe his brain wasn't telling. And the deceptive part of that part, when we walked up the road here, I said to you, would you think you'd go flat through there? And you don't think you would. Pace note's important, the grip level important to make those decisions. And I've got some times through here from Thomson. So Thomson 4. So Harry Bates wins the stage from Lewis. So the first, I think, 1-2 for Toyota here. And a little bit back to Hayden. I suspect that's him just making sure he gets himself ready. If he's got the right tyres on, you can conserve your tyres a bit for the power stage as well. Rulo 4th. 13 seconds back, then Reed and Sullins as our 7th through. So Sullins has made it through the end of the stage. Not massive amounts of time drop, to be fair, for a car that doesn't sound great. And we'll keep an eye on how the outrights go from here.
You mentioned the tyres there. This surface, it's quite like tarmac in terms of, especially this section here behind us as we walked up here. How's the tyre we're going to play out as we get into the later part of today?
Well, that's what I wonder, whether Hayden's going, I can burn a bit of time, and you can sort of almost tell as a driver when you really lean on a rally tyre on hard-packed roads, like you know you're wearing the tread a little bit, and particularly those corners and braking markers and stuff. So I think might be a little bit in there, but the tyres are holding up so far so well. Yeah, definitely more wear than yesterday, but all things considered, they're holding well, and no one's having any particular problems at all.
All right, so we're boxing on and marching our way further into this rally as Kite goes past. Jared Kite, who had some problems this weekend. What are you seeing and hearing?
Well, I went and had a chat to him as well, and he did say he's stepping up from an XL, and he said it's a little bit different to one of these, and those dramas early on just sort of lose your rhythm. You don't get as much time in the stages, etc., to sort of really get a feel for it. So sort of feel for him in that regard, particularly a bit like we talked with Alex. It could have been a great round for him just to learn the car a little bit more. Like I just noticed before behind us, downshifted a little earlier than most people. That's just been a bit unsure of the car and sort of using the gears to brake a little bit. So every time you're sort of doing that, you're dropping a little bit of time, but it's the safety approach, and the car's in one piece, and he'll be learning a heap by being out there.
It was a fuel pump issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, early on. I think
the start
there may have been another problem which I wasn't aware of, but I think a good team behind him and helping him get out there. And like I said, you're boxing on and able to learn a little bit, and he'll get a lot out of today because of the repeats and things. And getting comfortable with the car in these conditions is really good because the road surface is consistent, so it's not changing between. So for the likes of Alex and him, they are learning a heap out of a rally like this as well.
It's such a good education, isn't it, when you've got those repeat stages. Usually it's run and done. Forget it, consign it to the memory bank, or for next year if you happen to be coming back to the same venue. But here, for the young guys or less inexperienced guys, each time passed, you're learning, you're getting better.
We don't get, you do a test laps at a track or anything like that. You get to consolidate and you get to know each corner and you can really drill into the data. This would probably be the best chance to try and get proper long 14K runs with some data that can help you learn from that, because the roads stay consistent, nothing's changing weather-wise. I mean, one of the beauties is the inconsistency of rallying and stuff, but when it comes your way, if it suits you, take advantage of it. And I mean, we're seeing the times, 7:59, so we're now just under 8 minutes. So they're probably only shaved a second or two from the third run, and you'd expect that from the fast guys. But if we went further down the field, you'll see some bigger and bigger improvements as they get more and more confident on the way through.
Andrew Myers on his way through.
A little double run at the fast bit, and then a little bit of twitchiness under brakes, had to sort of correct it up. Doing a fabulous job through there, and I think I didn't get to speak to them at service, but hopefully it sounds all clean and clear. Their brake drummers may be out of the way and able to consolidate on what's been a magic weekend for them.
And in terms of here, comparing to our next stop at the Adelaide Hills Rally, the difference in the roads, the styles, the stages, the lengths of them, what should we expect as we throw our eyes forward?
Well, penultimate round, I mean, it's really quick. I talked before in our first one about them being shire roads, but they sort of do change. Some of them are really consistent in feel and fit, a little bit like this. So it's not a bad lead-in. If you've done Victoria, it's probably nearly, in my mind, the closest you get Victoria to particularly these style of roads. In the previous times here at Gippsland, we've gone to some really Sunday crazy stages, really different in rhythm, I should say. But I think because of the weather that's happened in the region in the last sort of 12 months, we weren't able to get out to those. So we've sort of seen a very similar and consistent weekend from the Victorian roads, which is sort of what we get from South Australia.
And a big shout out, of course, to everyone involved in forestry management here, making sure that the roads and everything is as excellent as it has been across the weekend.
And I mean, it's a great place to come. And the weather, like I said, if you're here spectating in the car, it's very difficult to get perfect conditions in rallying. I think today is probably a perfect rally day, to be honest.
Yep, thanks to all the officials, thanks to everyone who's made the coverage available as well. There's a lot of people that are involved.
They start early. It was fresh this morning, and you see the officials on the side of the road all gathering up. So what happens is you'd have the team leader come through, pick up the people who are going to be road closures. They drive them through the stage, drop off, make sure it's all safe. And that has to happen well in advance. So like 2 or 3 hours before cars are leaving service to come out, those teams are in there in the cold, getting together and out there making sure that this sport runs well and safely at the same time and on time.
Jimmy Leoncini has had an action-packed weekend, has he not?
From the stuff we've seen of him so far, he's back out wide again. Maybe that's just his natural style. But a little bit more controlled on the entry here. And that's a good run. I think, once again, going back to the same thing, he'll learn a lot from this. The big talking point was him to transition from his classic rear-wheel drive car that he drives so well to this. Great learning weekend, and now whatever he chooses to do, whether he does the next round of the VRC, etc., he's going to have done so much in good conditions. Because sometimes you can buy a car like that and you end up in really muddy, sloshy conditions that are hard for someone who's got a lot of experience in their car versus the first time out. So this is lending itself to them.
Dino, talk to a lot of the viewers at home will understand the difference when you're going from a two-wheel drive to a four-wheel drive. But for those who perhaps haven't done a lot of rallying or haven't experienced that change, in terms of your driving style and getting the power and making the most of it, what are the top one or two things that you have to concentrate on?
I have to go to Jimmy to talk about rear-wheel drive. You know, I did a bit of rear-wheel drive stuff before I had my licence, but I've never done an actual forest stage rally in a rear-wheel drive car, which I'd love to do. I feel like even when I cut my teeth in the back paddock, etc., you drive a lot on the throttle, which sort of makes sounds like a weird thing to say, but once you've sort of turned in, your throttle control is almost your traction. You can sort of get on and off the throttle, and it sort of steers the car a little bit. When you go front-wheel drive, which is a little different, you know, Tony Sullins style, everywhere that wheel is going, if you've got your foot down, that's where the car's going to go. You can hold some good slides, but you don't want to be too sideways. Four-wheel drive is a closer transition from front-wheel drive. So there's the same sort of techniques from a two-wheel drive or front-wheel drive car are similar to four-wheel drive car, but then you get the diffs and the diff mapping and the suspension and these Rally 2 cars. I'm amazed at some of the lines I see them take. Like the Spectator Point from last night has a big lip on the inside. Now, for me, in my production car, you know, back in the day, I feel like I wouldn't want to run too high on that because the sort of chassis runs up on it and the suspension gets a bit gnarly and gives you a different feel. For these cars, they're like a praying mantis over them. I can't believe the commitment. They dial it in. It just runs over the top of it. They flick it back, and I'm sitting there at awe of some of the commitment and what you can do out of these Rally 2 cars. It's pretty special. Yeah.
We've talked about the power stage a bit. 120 kilometres an hour is the average expected.
And they all look forward to that and run through as the Garners come through in the Subaru. Little lock up there. You talked before about the surface. That was them coming in. They were pretty light on the brakes, and then, of course, they did a bit more of a pinch, bit more of a push on the brake pedal. It locked up because, you know, rally tyre on a hard-packed road is not going to be your optimal braking point. In actual fact, sometimes you could just about run a tarmac tyre on some sections, but only ones we've heard lock up in here. Just a little safety punch on the brake and a little lock up.
Quick update for you. Clayton Hoy, of course, was out yesterday, so not running today. Likewise, Tony Oates, Molly Spalding, Nichols as well. Scotty Pedder not here this weekend. If people aren't across the situation there, when will we see Scotty back again, one of our perennial front runners and former champ?
Yeah, well, ARC-wise, he'll be back in Tasmania. He'll do a state round in the lead-up as part of the VRC, and we'll go to Narooma. So exactly what you spoke about for next year's calendar, we go from what was Canberra, we go to Narooma in New South Wales. There's a state rally on coming up in about a month's time or something like that. And so a lot of players that will think for next year, they'll go and do that Rally 2-1. Maybe some of the stage will be the same. You get some notes down potentially. And or just what happens in certain conditions. If it's wet and slippery, what happens? If it's dry, helps you for a setup for next year. So already some people, including Scotty, thinking about next year and what that might bring for them. So
it's a great addition to the calendar, isn't it? Brindabella hosting that one room. Well, what sort of style, what are people going to expect when they get there?
Well, I don't even know because I've never been there before. And that's what's cool about it. It's a really brand new round to the championship. We've never been there that I'm aware of from an ARC point of view or been in those forests. So it'll add another element again to the series, which we're really looking forward to. So it's a topsy-turvy calendar from this year. You know, the middle of everywhere Gippsland Rally is going to be the final round. We'll decide our champion here next year, which is pretty cool for them to hold the final round of the championship as well.
Shout out to Innate Events Group, to Jill and Adrian Coppin taking us around Australia to new places in their first year, looking after the E-Road Australian Rally Championship. Let's take a look and a listen to our next runner on his way through, being Thomas.
So Dale and Craig coming through here in the Evo, looking pretty good from my memory from last time. So, they're definitely one who'll I'll be interested to go back and look at their times through this pass versus their first pass. Look more committed through there, straighter line through, and you can sort of hear less anti-lag you can hear on a four-wheel drive turbocharged rally car, the more committed you are. So it's a little telltale when you're not really confident. You sort of get off the throttle, you get that sort of telltale backfire. It seems like the Evos definitely have a lot more noise in that department than some of the other cars out here.
That's exactly it. Have we got some more times and where are we at? We'll just do another little update there because it is important for those that are just joining us. So stage time point of view,
obviously Harry Lewis and Hayden stays through, Alex Rouleau's through, Troy Dow Reading, Stewie Reid. Traverso was just behind Stu by 5 seconds. Jackson Long slots in. Then Kite 6 seconds back. And then Sullins only 10 seconds back for a car that seemed to be limping. If we go and switch that to overall, Harry got it down to nearly 1 minute, nearly under 1 minute, 1 minute 0.5. It's 25 odd seconds back to Lewis, the big gap back to Rouleau. And the battle, can Troy get to Bodie? Ooh, looking at that, maybe not. That could be really tight for fifth outright. Stewie Reid looked like he's pretty much going okay in seventh. Traverso, Sullins, Long and Kite. But, of course, might be a couple of runners there that aren't through yet last parts of the top 10.
So you at home can also grab your device and grab the Subaru Results
I'm on the
Hub.
Subaru Rally Results Hub here.
And keep yourself up to date with how things progress for the rest of the afternoon. And, of course, Gippslandrarally.com.au. The rally radio is happening for the first time as well. So for the rest of the afternoon, make sure you're tuning in there. But we're going to take a look at one more runner here, being Nathan Stokes, as he's about to come through for his efforts this afternoon.
I spoke to their team, massive rebuild, engine rebuild. The big hit they had in Queensland was bigger than I thought. It actually knocked or broke the head off the block of this Subaru. So done a massive amount of work. It's sounding strong coming towards us in someone that, committing to lots of rounds of the championship. The car's looking really good in one piece and sounding quite strong actually through there. So little wobble through there, a bit indecisive on the right-hander. Sort of comes through, and like you said, just still not probably fully confident in that car, just listening to the telltale marks, but like I said, clean run, probably enjoying the really consistent roads here, Victoria, as opposed to the difficult runs we had in Queensland.
All right, Dino, wrap it up for us. What we've seen here, Hayden Paddon, the man in front, the margin reduced.
It's reduced, but look, he's in the stronghold. The thing I love about it, you've got to get through the power stage. We keep talking about the bonus points, but you've got to get through to bank any points at all. Let's see how it wraps up and what the points difference might be going into the penultimate round in South Australia.
That's exactly it. Galvanise Insurance Rally Century will be there to wrap it up on the ARC Facebook page and across the social accounts. So to hear from all the drivers and all the breaking news and get a wrap-up of the day, we'll do that from around 3:30pm this afternoon. Dino, thank you.
Thank you. It's been fun out here in the forest.
We've survived the Mozzies.
Bit dusty as well this time. We really get the full experience.
That's it. We've had a real rally experience and loved every moment of it here. The fourth round of the E-Road Australian Rally Championship. This is the middle of everywhere Gippsland Rally. We'll catch up with you on our socials later on this afternoon.